Welcome to the Green Transition Show with me, Dr. Francis Tuokun. In today's episode, we'll explore the impact of e-waste on livelihoods, on the environment, and on human health, and how to sustainably manage the impact. To help us understand this is Dr. Vincent Kyere. Doc, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Francis.
If you are new to the channel, kindly subscribe. Kindly go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel, as well as follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. We're also live on LinkedIn. That will motivate us to continue to bring you insightful conversations. Dr. Vincent Kyere, kindly introduce yourself to our audience, your affiliation, and what made you to develop interest in e-waste, because I've seen your work. You've done a lot of work in the e-waste sector. So kindly share your background and your experience with us.
Okay, once again, thank you and for the opportunity given for today to share our thoughts and some of the things that we've done. Thanks for your listeners also for tuning in to have this interaction with us. I am grateful for the opportunity. Thanks once again. As you rightly said, I am Vincent Kyere. I'm an environmental communicator and an e-waste management practitioner based here in Ghana. My work sits between environmental policy, development communication, and sustainable waste management. This is what I have been doing over the period for the past decade. I have tried to look at this emerging trends or emerging waste stream that is posing a bit of a challenge. Why is this emerging waste stream posing a big challenge? Because it is only this waste stream that we have both value and we have hazardous fraction or negative. So this presents two options, the best of two worlds also for us. How do we take the value out of it whilst also managing the negative that is inherent in it? And I've done this work working with both government, both bilateral organizations, working with NGOs, working with almost everybody within the space, from the informal sector to the formal sector, only to create an avenue where we think that our digital future can be managed sustainably and environmentally sound in way. So this is what we have been doing. I think that through our work, I think we are gradually setting Ghana on a very good pace, becoming the leader in championing Africa's e-waste management. So this is activities that we've done since 2018, 2019. With the support of the ministry, with the support of the German Development Corporation, with German Development Bank, we've been able to gradually outline the pace for which Ghana should manage its e-waste.
Yeah, let me also add that Dr. Vincent Kyere is the president of Mountain Research Institute. He's also the team leader of e-waste management at the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology in Accra, Ghana. Doc, to put the issue in proper context, can you tell us what is e-waste? And some of our audience or viewers may not understand what e-waste means. Can you tell us what is e-waste and what is it considered the fastest growing environmental challenges today?
Okay, thank you once again, and thanks for adding that I am working with Mountain Research Institute. Mountain Research Institute is a Ghanaian-owned firm. We specialize in environmental consultancy in waste management. Clearly, the question is e-waste, and for me, the name speaks for itself. When we talk about e-waste, we are looking at electronic waste. In some circles, we call it waste electrical and electronic equipment. And when you refer to e-waste, you are looking at discarded electrical and electronic equipment that has reached its end of life. Discarded. So let's bear that in mind. Discarded. Things that we have designed that we are no longer interested. It has come to the end of its useful life, is what we are referring to e-waste. This includes the mobile phones that we use, and nowadays, the smartwatches that we use. It includes, even nowadays, the footwear that we wear. Some footwear has batteries. They have things in it that provide those light or those electronics around it. Even includes even the some of the shirts that we wear. When we all go to the shops with our babies, we try to buy them the clothes that bright, the clothes that give some light with a battery or with a click that gives. All these are electronic materials. So when it comes to its useful end of life, or we discard it and it comes to its useful end of life, we are terming this e-waste. If you look carefully at it, if you have a laptop, you see that the laptop is made up of a lot of components. Within that component are very useful aspects, and also within that component are also very hazardous aspects. So we have all this mixed in it, electronics with the waste. And we have all seen how we have used electronics. Electronic use have become more of something that we are using to measure our progress. So when iPhone 16 or any of the phone comes up, we see the series changing. Anytime the series changes and you have defined that at the end of the day, this is all discarded for me, it is of no use, and it has come to its useful end of life, then we are all contributing to the aspect of electronic waste generation. Currently, we have over 62 million tons of e-waste that we are generating annually as of 2026. We have projected that this is projected to increase up to about 82 million in 2032, which tells you that this is a stream, or this is a waste stream that will keep on going up. Why is it becoming even a problem for us? Is clear. We have seen that even with the generation of the 62 million, what we can manage properly, recycle it through formal recycling methods and activities, is about 22%, which means that almost in yearly basis, we have almost about 78 or 70% there that we are not touching. So you see that we are growing a huge waste stream, but its management is becoming of concern to all of us.
Why is it a concern to all of us? So let's look at it from both environmental and then health, perspectives or standpoints.
Okay. Why is it a concern to us? If you look carefully at Global South, if you look at the developing countries, most of these items come in as second-hand materials, in one way or the other, to help us also bridge the digital divide, to help us also improve our digital accuracy and our digital footprint. We get some of these things because if you look at Global South, we might not be able to afford very new, sophisticated machines. So we bring in some of these things as slightly used, as second-hand. However, most of these things arrive already as dead. When it gets here, the infrastructure is not even, we don't have that capacity to handle the end-of-life management of these items. So when it gets here, you see a lot of people trying to harness the valuable aspect of the materials, because I've told you that in every e-waste, you have valuable aspect and you have the negative aspect. So in an attempt that we want to take the valuable aspect, we are not able to handle the negative aspect of it. And we try to use all kinds of means, very crude methods, very hazardous processes, only to extract the valuable part. And the invaluable part, we leave it for nature, we leave it for environment to do it. I believe that you have heard the story, and then you followed the discussion of Agbogbloshie. You have seen the pace at which electronic goes to waste, or our digital footprint goes to waste, where scrap dealers, in the attempt to recover the copper that is in cable, in the attempt to recover aluminum that is in cable, in the attempt to recover the iron and to recover the chips and then the gold that is inherent in our computers, they try to either set it on fire, use the very indigenous method, but crude, ways to recover this valuable material. In so doing, by setting fire on it, they are also burning or exposing us to the hazardous components through the smoke that comes out of it. So it is not only of the health, environment, but also of social concerns, because we spend money to buy these items, and instead of these items also lasting for us, it ends up coming waste at a faster rate. And since we don't have the capacity to deal with, we create an environmental backlog. We create a health issue for the populace that are also living there. So this myriad of activities is the reason why it has become of ultimate concern. Again, these are also items that contains very scarce material, very resource materials. How do we harness it properly? And also avoid the issue of always depleting our resources when we can also find that same resources in the materials that we use. So we have these two dichotomies that we have to all look at how we deal with it. Do we take the value and leave the environmental concerns, or can we handle both? How do we handle both with our capacities, regulation, with technology, with investment? How do we handle it? These are the things that are calling for the concerns that we are having discussion on today.
Doc, you mentioned Agbogbloshie. Some of our viewers may not understand Agbogbloshie. Can you briefly explain or tell us, something about Agbogbloshie?
Agbogbloshie is a small suburb in Accra, right in the capital of Accra, where most of our electronics, whether from developed or whether from Ghana, also come to their end of life. So at this place, they pick and salvage every good aspect that is in our electronics. I've mentioned that our electronic contains value. It contains also negative. So for the informal scrap dealer, for the informal sector player, when he picks our laptop, when he picks our air condition is made of aluminium cover, the metals, they will want to extract it. Copper cores that are in it, they want to extract it. So at Agbogbloshie, most of our materials come there to be salvaged. Now, the process that they do this, and those of us who have followed it, we will see that Agbogbloshie happens to be one of the most polluted areas in the world. Behind one of the areas in China, Agbogbloshie comes next to one of the areas that is most polluted. And activities that has been done there have shown that our pollution levels affect not only the human beings, it affects also plants. If you go there and you see the river stream that runs there, a typical observation, just site observation, tells you how dangerous and how people are living in a health and threatening environment, in an environmentally threatening environment. The kids that live their life there, the market, and bear in mind, Agbogbloshie also has one of the biggest markets in Ghana, and where our foodstuff that we take in also come from. So Agbogbloshie is an area of mixed activities. We have a scrap activity, we have a market, we have a banking, we have a church, we have a number of things. But the processes by which our typical local extraction, primitive way of extracting valuable materials from it also happens. So Agbogbloshie is more of a light industrial area, but heavily polluted area that has raised a lot of concerns within the international media, within the local media, and you see a lot of activities that has been done in this area, but we still see some of these issues also.
Yeah, Agbogbloshie used to be the largest e-waste dumping site in the world, but over the years, governments have tried to deal with the problem. Is this still the case? Is this still the largest waste dumping site in the world? I mean, you mentioned rightly that it's the second most polluted place in the world after a place in China. But in terms of the dumping site, is this still the largest in the world, or part of it has been recovered?
Yes, Agbogbloshie, it still happens to be one of the places, and we've seen different government initiatives that have come up to deal with the environmental and health concerns of the activities in Agbogbloshie. Unfortunately, I cannot tell you that we have been able to fully dealt with it. Some initiatives have come into place that we are gradually taking the baby steps to make sure that at least we can sanitize the activities at Agbogbloshie. But as we speak now, it still holds most of our e-waste recycling or e-waste informal activity. So go there right now. You'll see a lot of informal activities happening there. You still see some crude approaches that are being used to recover this material. You see some burning activities that is happening there. But in all, if you look at it, some significant progress has been made through the KfW, the German Development Bank initiative, where a collection system has been set up to provide relief or to provide them with an alternative to the burning of cables, to the burning of plastics, to the leaving of batteries within that site. But the activities still continue. There are still some materials that go through the primitive approach that we all know.
If you are watching us, this is the Green Transition Show with me, Dr. Francis Tuokun. Our guest is Dr. Vincent Kyere. He's the president of Mountain Research Institute. He's also the team lead of e-waste management at the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology in Accra, Ghana. If you are new to the channel, kindly hit the subscribe button on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook, TikTok, and also on LinkedIn. This will motivate us to continue to bring you insightful conversations. Doc, you have outlined some of the problems associated with the e-waste industry. I want to find out from you, do you think the problem, the e-waste conundrum, is driven by consumption patterns, or it is due to weak institutional and regulatory frameworks in developing countries, such as Ghana, or both?
It's a mixed, and I think that you have answered it very well. It's both aspects. Clearly, our consumption is leading to the increasing volumes that we see. Me and you sitting here, if we should go back into our minds and go back into our archives, there have been a lot of changes that we have done. The phones that we are using, most of them do not even come to their end of life. But once there is a new design, a new click, a new button that gives us other options, we all discard the ones that we are using, and then we all run for it. So our consumption pattern, everyday life is fully based on electronics. Between you and me, in fact, if we sit here and we should look at ourselves, both of us sitting here, we can count about 4 different devices which are electronics. And let's wait for next year to see a new laptop that comes with a camera that is able to give us a good resolution. Though what we are using is giving us almost the same service, but our desire, our change, we will want to go and change it and bring in another one. We have not changed our relationships with our devices, and we are all looking at the linear consumption of our devices. When you and me, and I always put this on the shoulders of the very elite and the academic, when we all get our materials, when it comes to end of life, that means that is the end of it. We leave it there, and we leave it for the informal sector to champion what we are preaching as circular economy. So it is both sides. We are too much on our linear consumption than looking at how things are done. Again, if you look at those that are manufacturing, those that are putting the designs on it, they have also have a concept in it, the plan obsolescence. So at any point in time, when you use it after 3 years, after 2 years, you are no longer interested in it and you want to now go for a new one. So they have planned the obsolescence in advance also for us. So after 3 years, you either have to update, you either have to upgrade, you either have to change over and go for a new one because they also want to keep themselves in business. So that is the plan obsolescence. Now, we also have the same thing on when it comes to weak regulations. We are dealing with a regulatory sector that is always evolving. The businessman needs to keep himself in. The politician needs to keep himself in. Me and you also, we need to keep ourselves in. So it's a mixture of things that is contributing to the things that we are all seeing. We cannot only lay the blame on the weak regulations, but I believe that as individuals, our relationship with our devices needs to be looked at once again. We are too much particular on the new models that are coming and the manufacturer's interest. Now when you buy phones or when you buy devices, even their simple ability to repair and reuse that material, it's not there because now they have modernized it in such a way that even if the battery is waste, you cannot on your own deal with the battery. Why can't we design for reuse? Why can't the manufacturers, the big players within the sector, design for reuse such that when I buy a phone and it is the battery that is not working, I can easily go out there, buy my own individual, even take the batteries and then start, maybe get an additional thing that will work for another period so that we keep the item in a longer lifespan than designing that after 3 years. Those of us who are using Windows Phone, by now we all cannot use Windows Phone again. All those ones, it has been planned that it will come to the end of life this time around. So it has to come to end of life. Beside our consumption part, beside the desire of businesses doing it, we are also crushed by a weak regulatory system. Free border, free ports, everything just coming in. So the regulation is also not having it easy on us, especially those of us in the global south. We don't define secondhand for any market, but the developed country define what is secondhand for us. And most of them are so close to their end of life that you cannot even maintain it. So in one way or the other, they are only just dumping the end of life management on us. What use will it be that if I'm giving you a second hand and within 6 months or 3 months, that second hand is becoming a waste item that your country infrastructure, your country capacity cannot hold? What is the use of that electronic type? These are the concerns. Mix of everything within it.
Yeah, I agree with you. And that's the goal of the show, the Green Transition Show. It exists, it serves as a platform to unpack some of these issues and for people to understand how to sustainably manage our resources, whether we are talking about electronic resources, mineral resources, etc. So in line with what you concluded on, that the developed world defines for us what is secondhand. Consistent with that argument, will you say that e-waste is a form of colonialism? Some people call it's a form of waste colonialism. Do you agree with this school of thoughts? What is your view on that? Waste colonialism.
That is a very fine concept, and clearly when you look at it and you want to really be honest with the discussion, indeed that is the case. If you really want to look at the discussion and you want to look at it carefully, as much as I will not want to promote that idea, that indeed is the case. Where the end-of-life materials come to the global south, it comes to the developing countries, and at the end of the day, when it's even extracted, the good aspect that is still extracted is taken back to developed countries. And then the value will be added and it will be brought to us. And this has been the trend in most of our activities, in our commodity trades, in our cocoa, in almost all the things that we do. This has been the trend. So I cannot seem to be far away from the idea of waste colonialism, though I would not want to promote idea and discussion like that. But if you carefully would look at it, this is exactly what is happening. Bringing the materials that you who have the capacity to handle is not handling, but bringing it to us here and not even being responsible to take care of it. Have you just imagined that in any of the electronics that you buy in Europe, in the Americas, in the developed countries, there is a recycling fee that is attached to it, mainly for the management of these items when they come to their end of life. However, most of these items end their life in the global south, in the developing countries. But that recycling fee that is paid on that market does not come here. So the capacities are there, the technologies are there to recycle, but the materials end their life here. Why should it be? If this is not colonialism, then I find it difficult how to understand it. Though I don't want to promote the concept of colonialism.
Yes, I agree with that. So what role, I mean, you've mentioned recycling and all that, but what role do manufacturers and technology companies or tech companies play in creating or solving the e-waste crisis?
I think it starts and it ends also with them. If the manufacturer is so interested in managing things that they are profiting from, because at the end of the day, it's the manufacturer that is profiting from this. They are getting their profit out of the sales of this item. So if they are minded to do that and not to only create the planned obsolescence that after 3 years you should go for it, I believe that it starts with them. Clearly, if they want to do that, they can start from the design stage. Waste management, electronic waste management is not only at the point of disposal, at the point of recycling. It starts from the design. How do you design such that the product that you are putting on the market lives longer for use? How are you going to design it such that it is repairable for use? How are you going to design it such that it will champion the same throughout, the reuse aspect of it? If you have designed such that after 3 years, you cannot even update the software, so you must go for a new one, then I believe that your design concept is even a failure at the beginning if we want to achieve sustainable footprint management. If not, then it starts with them. They are contributing to it. If they will look at their planned obsolescence and how we can deal with longer longevity in the use of this material, we are dealing with one aspect of it. Again, in some areas, they have set up extended producer responsibilities. How does the extended producer responsibilities benefit where the items comes to their end of life? Why should it be left to only countries? Because bear in mind, the big companies that are manufacturing these items, they don't sit right in the global south countries. They are not here. They don't manufacture here. But the items are on the market here. And they are taking the producer responsibilities in the countries that they are manufacturing. Who deals with the items that are put on the market here? Though I believe strongly that African countries and countries in the global south have to find their own ways or look at ways and deal with materials that are coming in. So if you look carefully at the concept that Ghana is developing, we have realized that we are not finding the manufacturers right here in the country. So through the Act 917, now Act 1124, we said that anybody who is importing the material will be responsible for the items that they are placing on the market. So our EPR is taking the shape of the importer, of the one who is putting the item on the market, responsible for the item. Because over the years, we thought that, or we knew that the manufacturers, like the big companies, they are responsible for the items. They don't sit right in the global south countries. They are not here. They don't manufacture here. But the items are on the market here. And they are taking the producer responsibilities in the countries that they are manufacturing. Dell, the HP, will take responsibility and take care of the items that are on the market. But hey, nobody is interested. Nobody is doing that. We need to find a way. At a point in time, I believe that we will be able to bring them on board and then let them take responsibility. If you're able to take responsibility in Germany, there is nothing preventing you from taking responsibility in Africa. If you're able to take responsibility in the United States, there is nothing preventing you from taking the responsibility here, right here, because your items also comes to end of life here. And why will you not be interested if the materials that are coming to the end of life has the resources that will aid you in doing the same item again? Why do we have to throw it away and then still encourage Galamsey to go and take the earth, remove the surface, and still get the same material from mining? If we can get this material from the materials that are already on the market.
Yeah. If you are watching us, this is the Green Transition Show with me, Dr. Francis Tuokun. Our guest is Dr. Vincent Kyere. He's the president of Mountain Research Institute and the team lead, the e-waste team lead at the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology in Ghana. I've learned a lot from this conversation so far, and I hope our audience or our viewers are also learning a lot. So if you are new to the channel, kindly subscribe on YouTube to motivate us to continue to bring you such insightful conversations. You can also follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and also on TikTok. Doc, I want to find out on what you think about sustainable electronics. So in your view, what do we mean by sustainable electronics? How does it look like from the design phase to disposal?
I think that sustainable electronics, let me simply put, is that if we're able to keep this whole usage in our circular concepts, can we manage our footprint, our digital footprint, that it doesn't pose a health hazard to the individual scrap dealer at Agbogbloshie. It doesn't pose a health hazard to the scrap dealers dotted all around. It is easier for a reuse of the item. The item is able to be kept in a longer use. If we are able to do this, we're able to sustainably have this in mind and then reduce our digital footprint that we are handling. And I mentioned to you, in the 62 million tons that we are generating, we are only managing 22% of it. Can we put it in a system that we can manage a lot more in sound manner? Because the situations of e-waste management is not only peculiar to Ghana. That is, the crude process is not only peculiar to Ghana. It cuts across most of the developing countries. Now you don't hear a lot about India and China. These are where it started from. And you see, for me, I always say that the informal sector are the heroic players within the sector. They do a lot more of the businesses, a lot more of the collection. In fact, if you look at Ghana's trend, one of the things that we are strong at is the collection of the material. We are able to collect a lot more of the material. But when it comes to management, we are not. So how do we make sure that we can complement the effort of this informal sector? How do we bring the players in play so that the environmental hazardness, the health issues, the economic gains that we are supposed to gain can be properly harnessed? We are not doing that. We are only concentrating and we are only promoting the wrong retrieval and recovery processes in down south. However, there are machines, there are technology, there are facilities that exist in the global north, which are underutilized. Because as I said, most of the materials end their life here. How do we make sure that we bridge the divide? Bearing in mind that I am a strong believer of the best of two worlds. The best of two worlds approach is that you handle the one that you can handle properly and allow the next person also to handle the one that he can handle properly. we have opportunities to handle or to do a lot more collection of the material. However, our capacity is limited when it comes to the recycling material. Is it possible to have some investment here, right here in Ghana, and do the recycling of the material? Can the big companies, the HP, can all those companies put in some kind of investment within the global south? Because most of their material, at the end of the day, comes from here. Why do we have to have the trade wars and all those things when we can still harness most of the materials that we are looking for? The electronic material, the rare earth material from the electronic that are in circulation. Why can't we put that system in place where we can champion sustainable collection? Because collection is financing. How do we finance collection? Here, we have said that every electronic that you bring, there is a levy on it. That levy should go into the collection of the item. That levy should go into the recycling. Hey, it's underfunded. The monies that are accruing from it will not be able to sustain a very comprehensive system. Meanwhile, the big shots, the big companies are taking some of this. Why don't they provide us else? Why don't they also set up? Because once material availability is there, you create the impression that, or you give companies the impression that raw materials are there. You can make investments. We need the support. Ghana is making strides, and I want to be very specific. Ghana is making a lot of strides in its e-waste management. But still, the need for big shots, big companies to come in and support is very critical. We cannot only depend on our e-waste fund to manage the world's e-waste. I think that should be clear. E-waste fund is just a drop in the bucket. Yeah. So if we want to use that drop in the bucket to manage the global e-waste streams in Ghana, that means that you are putting the infrastructure, you are putting the capacities in Ghana even under more stress. It needs the big player also to come in and take responsibility for the things that they are
doing. Yeah. I know you mentioned this briefly in the introduction, but I want you to provide our listeners, our viewers, with practical steps that as individuals, as consumers, what we can do to responsibly use electronics. If you can give us, if you can provide us with that, in order to reduce our carbon footprint or our footprints in terms of the impact of electronics.
Well, Francis, thank you for this. And I always say that it always boils down to the individual. And I believe that there are several concrete things that individuals in Ghana and elsewhere can do. And this one, I want to be very careful, but very open here to emphasize on the individual responsibility. Clearly, the individual action really matters. And for me, I will say it again. We need to check our relationship with our devices as individuals. We need to check our relationship with our devices. Do we need an upgrade? That question we will need to answer before we make any decision to leave what we are using and then move on. Can we keep the same item in circulation or in use for a period? If we all want to champion that single use and move on to the next, I think that by a time will come that we will stop blaming everybody else and we just have to blame ourselves. Can we, if we go to our closets, and I'm speaking this time around, I'm speaking to the Ghanaian population, I'm speaking to everybody, can we all make sure that we are turning in our end-of-life material, our end of the things that we have discarded, to certified recyclers or collection schemes? For me, that is key. Francis, I will not. I will just use you as an example. If you go to your closet now, as we sit here, look back into your wardrobe, look back into your household. How many devices have come to their end of life that are still there in your system? And this question is also answerable by most of our Ghanaians. How many devices have come to their end of life and they are still in our wardrobes? A lot of them. There are TVs that people have kept in their room that are still there. There are phones, and some of us, we can count about 3 or 4 phones that are lying in our wardrobe that we don't know what to do with it. Yeah. That are still there. There are some of the phones that they have not even come to their end of life, but we think that we got some salary increment somewhere and we got some pay rise somewhere, and we would need the latest phone or we need the latest gadget to do it. So we have kept it there. So all of us are contributing to it. And if we will change our relationship with our devices, that is a good start. Clearly, not only on the individual, and I'm always certain that the management of e-waste is not only got to do with technology. It's not got to do with the machinery. No. Because the machines are there. In fact, if you look at all the streams of e-waste, if the machine is not existing in Ghana, it might be in Germany. If it is not existing in Germany, it might be in Ghana. So the machine technologies are there. But we also need what I call the political will. That is where our regulations come in. If we set up regulations that are not fully enforced, then it's as waste as not even setting it up at all. So the political will is also at play here. Making sure that the producers, those who are putting the items on are also taking their responsibility. So you see, I've talked about the individual taking his own responsibility. I've talked about the technology also being available. I've talked about the politics, but also my sure bet is that those who are producing it should also be very responsible. They need to be responsible. We cannot just be just producing and not be responsible.
Yeah.
The case is even getting dire and dire almost every now and then. I've mentioned to you that we are now at 62 tons. We are aiming to go, or we are projecting to go almost 82 tons in 4 years. Bear in mind, if you look carefully within the 4 years, and you look at that our pace of recycling still stands at 22%. It has not moved a thread. 22% always. So always the backlog that we are creating against the materials that are coming up, how do we handle it? And I'm sure that if we are all supposed to develop new concepts, that when I use a phone, and the phone has not come to end of life, but there is a new that I can only rent or use for a period, and somebody else can also use it. Possibly, we will all be reducing. At times, the fear is that the new generations that are coming after us, which resources are they going to use? Because it looks like we are depleting all the resources available to us now, and the future is not well known. Can we? Because there is a saying that the materials that are inherent in our current electronics is much more refined. And you don't need a lot of energy to do that refinement as compared to what you would have done if you were supposed to mine the materials afresh. So the responsibility cut across. The individual has his responsibility. And Francis, today, I believe that your concept about this whole trend of e-waste will also change just like any other person. Because if we don't change our individual concepts, if we don't change our individual footprint, we will always have this talk show and we will not see the impact that we all have responsibilities. We had Basel Convention trying to stop the wealthy to send their materials. But how are they going about it? They said, oh, it's not waste. It's not hazardous. It's likely use. A slightly used that lasts for 6 months. A slightly used that lasts for 6 days. And the funny thing is that some of this material, they come into the global south untested. So the responsibility, as we talk about the individual, we are looking also at global leaders. We are looking at initiatives that helps. We need everybody on board so that we can have our digital footprint well managed. Because if you are not careful, we will find ourselves soaked in electronic age, where everything, because very soon, even the ring that we put on are becoming electronic. And so far as the item uses battery, you will need to find better ways of managing it.
Right. Obviously, after this conversation, I'll do a self-introspection, I'll reflect, and then change my road road, change, my concept of electronics. And I believe that our audience will do the same. And that is the goal of this platform, to provide avenue for us to share ideas, to share experiences, knowledge with global experts, so that it will influence our decision making, it will influence our policy makers, and influence businesses around the world. Doc, thanks so much. Can you leave us with your concluding words, your final words?
Thank you very much. In my final words, what I'll say is this. I am sure that Ghana is making progress, a lot of progress. And for me, the informal sector in Ghana is heroically the very resourceful player within the scheme of things for me. They are doing a lot of hard work. They are doing a lot of good things. But there are also negatives that we need to look at. In order to deal with this negative, I believe that our policy framework that we have developed should be resource enough to perform, not to underperform, to be enforced, not to be under enforcement. We need to resource it. We need to put our institutions that are leading this much more resourced enough so that they can champion this. As I've said, the responsibility lies on all of us, individuals, government, and everybody. If you look at the Ghana experience, currently, we are charting a good path, and I'm very sure of it. But we would need the support, we would need the investment that the big shot, the big players within the sector already have. We need infrastructure to collect this material. I think that Ghana is setting a very good pace. If there is any good thing on extended producer responsibility, I believe that countries where these items end their end of life should be the ones to benefit. If you look at the pace Ghana has done, ordinarily, through the KFW project, we have been able to collect almost about 1,400 tons of material. That is a collaboration between the Ghana government and the German government, trying to pilot a system that works. We have collected 1,400 tons of material, which ordinarily would have been bent or gone through crude processes to retrieve the materials. These ones have not gone through. So I believe that solutions exist, but the solutions need to be funded. Current payment of eco-levy is a good thing, but it's still not enough to deal with the global e-waste situation that ends their life here in Ghana. Ghana alone cannot bear the responsibility, or the global South countries alone cannot bear the responsibilities of EU, of America, championing or sending their end-of-life materials to the global South in the name of secondhand. I think that it should go beyond bringing in secondhand to also supporting the management of these items. I think that if we are able to do this, look at our individual attitude. government and global leadership rise and change the concepts. Things should work. Local regulations should work. I believe that we'll be charting a good path and we'll be dealing with the English problem, we'll be solving the English problem. But if we decide not to do it and still work with the business as usual case, where it is left to the country where it is ending their end of life to manage with its meager resources, then the problem could be even deeper than what we experience.
Viewers, this is where we'll bring our show to an end. We thank Dr. Vincent Kyere for sharing his knowledge and experience with us. We really appreciate your time, Doc. Thank you so much. If you have not subscribed to our channel on YouTube, kindly do so that we'll continue to bring you such insightful conversations. You can also follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and then LinkedIn as well. Thank you so much, Doc.
Thank you.